You're lying in bed at 2 in the morning, eyes wide open, heart doing that shallow flutter it does when you haven't actually done anything stressful, but your body is convinced you have, your jaw is clenched, you didn't notice until just now. There is a dull pressure behind your eyes, the kind that used to come after 12-hour study sessions, but now shows up on a regular Tuesday after doing almost nothing. You pick up your phone not because you want to, but because your hand reaches for it the way a lung reaches for air. 30 minutes vanish, you put it down feeling worse. That is not a metaphor, that is a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday that bleeds into every other day until the calendar loses its edges. From the outside you look fine, maybe a little tired, but inside, your morning alarm triggers the same dread response, a response a person might feel before a medical exam. Simple tasks, answering an email, picking up groceries, calling a friend back, sit on your to-do list like wet cement blocks. You aren't choosing to avoid them, your body is physically recoiling, your chest tightens, your breathing gets shallow, so you do what your nervous system is begging for. You chase the next scroll, the next bite, the next notification. Ping, anything that delivers a tiny spark, and every single time, the spark dies faster than the one before it. You need more, louder, brighter, quicker, until nothing registers at all, and you're staring at a screen full of content, feeling absolutely hollow. That hollowness isn't a personality flaw. Here is the scene that should disturb you. You're sitting across from someone you care about. They're telling you something that matters to them, something real, something vulnerable, and your hand is already sliding toward your pocket. You don't even notice it happening. Your thumb finds the screen before your brain registers the movement. For half a second, your eyes drop, and when you look back up, their face has changed. That isn't a character flaw, that is a brain running so hot on stimulation that a living, breathing human being cannot compete with a 4-inch screen. Your nervous system has been hijacked so thoroughly that the people closest to you have started to feel like low resolution content, not vivid enough, not fast enough, and the worst part isn't the scrolling. The worst part is what happens after. You put the phone down, you look at your to-do list, and your body responds like you just asked it to push a boulder uphill in wet sand. Writing one email feels monumental. Reading one page feels like punishment. You aren't tired from working too hard, you're tired from consuming too much, so you sit there, drained but wired, bored but restless, surrounded by everything you said you wanted, and unable to reach for any of it. That gap between who you know you are and what you actually do in a given hour, it isn't a mystery. It is a circuit that has been overloaded so many times, it stopped responding to normal voltage. And what most people never realize is that the overload didn't happen to them. You've tried this before. You've told yourself you'd put the phone down, sit in the quiet, and just breathe, and for maybe 11 minutes you did. Then your hand moved on its own. Not because you wanted anything specific, not because someone called, but because the silence started pressing against the inside of your skull, like a sound you couldn't name. You picked up the screen, scrolled past 3 posts you didn't even read, and only then did your chest loosen. And here is what nobody around you sees. You're functioning, you go to work, you answer messages, you laugh at the right moments, but inside, there is this low hum, this restless static that never fully goes quiet. You sit down to do something that matters to you, and within seconds, your brain is scanning for something louder, something faster, something that requires zero effort to feel. This isn't a character flaw. This is what happens when your reward system has been running at full volume for so long that normal life registers as dead air. The walk that should feel grounding feels painfully slow. The book that should feel absorbing feels like staring at a wall. And the worst part is the guilt, because you know these things are supposed to help, and you can't figure out why they don't. You're not the only one. That boredom, that crawling discomfort when the noise stops, that is an emptiness. It is your brain recalibrating. It is the gap between overstimulation and clarity, and almost everyone who has lived inside a screen for long enough knows exactly what it feels like. The difference isn't who feels it. Here is what nobody explains to you. That restlessness you feel when you sit still, that crawling urgency to pick up your phone, to open a tab to find something, anything. That isn't boredom, that is withdrawal. Your reward system has been hijacked, and the hijacker isn't some external force, it is the loop you built without realizing it. Every time you reach for stimulation, the moment discomfort appeared, you taught your brain a single lesson: effort is dangerous, and relief must be immediate. Your brain learned that lesson perfectly. It now punishes you for trying to focus. It floods you with agitation when you attempt something slow. It makes a blank page feel like a threat, and a quiet room feel like solitary confinement. The mechanism works like this: your baseline dropped so low that normal life stopped registering as enough. A walk means nothing. A book feels like labor. A clean desk gives you zero signal, not because those things lost value, but because your brain lost the receptors to detect it. Your nervous system is choosing it for you before your conscious mind even gets a vote, and that is the part that keeps you trapped: the belief that you're making a decision, when in reality the decision was made the moment your feet hit the floor and your hand reached for the screen. The screen didn't ask permission. It didn't need to. Here is your defense protocol, and it isn't gentle. You're going to invert the sequence. Your brain has been running on autopilot for years. Right now, reward arrives before effort. The phone lights up before a single task is touched. Comfort wraps around you before anything meaningful gets done. That order isn't innocent, so you're going to force a reversal. Not tomorrow, not after you feel ready. Today, the first hour of your morning belongs to resistance. You sit with the discomfort of an unlit screen. You move your body before it wants to move. You finish one task, even a small one, before any stimulation touches your senses. What happens on the other side of that boundary isn't willpower, it is architecture. When effort consistently precedes reward, dopamine begins bonding to progress instead of distraction. You start feeling a quiet pulse of satisfaction after completing something real, something that didn't come from a screen. That signal is your brain recalibrating, and once that pattern locks in, motivation stops being something you chase. It becomes the background hum of your operating system. You don't need a playlist or a pep talk to start. You just start. Structure did what willpower never could. You aren't broken, you're just occupied. The person on the other side of this reset was always there, just buried under noise you never agreed to carry. One decision is all it costs to meet them.